In our breaking news, the High Court in Johannesburg has placed SA Express under provisional liquidation. The soft business rescue practitioners tasked with turning the airline around filed an urgent court application to have the struggling carrier liquidated. ENC's Heidi Jockers is closely watching that story and joins us now for an update. Heidi, good morning to you. I mean, it's almost as if we expected, of course, SAA to suffer tremendously under this particular pandemic and lockdown. But a liquidation, I mean, what is SAA saying?
Tumelo, it's actually quite shocking to see that the judge has ordered a provisional liquidation for SA Express. What this means is that it is not a final liquidation. And the reason why Judge Twala of the Johannesburg High Court has not ordered a final liquidation is because the judge feels as though perhaps not all affected parties were notified and served with the urgent court application served by the business rescue practitioners for the airline to be liquidated. So the judge is saying perhaps we need to give an opportunity for all affected parties to receive this application and perhaps oppose as to why they believe the airline could possibly be saved and not be finally liquidated. So a provisional liquidation means that they have until the 9th of June to make their final submissions or final documents to the High Court as to why it should not be finally liquidated. And this also means that there will be a liquidator appointed to SA Express. So the liquidator will come in and take over the assets and perhaps look for potential buyers. It's not ideal for an airline to be liquidated in such an environment, in such a climate where most airlines are truly suffering and are in desperate need of any kind of financial aid or assistance. But it's been a long time coming for SA Express, given the fact that they've received no post-commencement funding from government when the business rescue practitioners took over. In order for them to apply a business rescue plan, there needs to be some kind of funding. They have not received that. So it seems as though the judge is taking a stance in terms of saying there is no prospect for the airline and perhaps a provisional liquidation will do for now until affected parties can prove otherwise.
So it's easy to get the two airlines mixed up because the processes are almost similar, Heidi, SAA and SA Express. So this is, in as far as SA Express is concerned, you are saying they did not receive the post-commencement funding, which is completely different from the SAA situation, whereas SAA actually wanted further funding after the post-commencement funding was initially advanced by government. What are the implications for the workers at SA Express?
Yes, I think it's important to highlight the fact that this is SA Express. It is an SOE, but it's focused more on the regional flights, and they're in a very similar situation to what SAA is. But SA Express did not receive any post-commencement funding from government when they went into business rescue. And also, to us, it's important to highlight the fact that SA Express went into business rescue after a former service provider called Ziegler took the airline to court to say, you have not paid me for the services rendered. This airline needs to go into business rescue, and the court granted that. Now, the business rescue practitioners have asked for liquidation, so it's interesting to see which parties take the matter to court. But going back to the workers have been suffering even before this provisional liquidation. They were not paid for March salaries, and they are only going to get a portion of their April salaries after the UIF COVID-19 Relief Fund has said that they will pay a portion of those salaries. So workers will be affected, but from what we heard in court today, it appears as though workers will benefit in some way, as they will be able to benefit from the UIF COVID-19 Relief Fund, and perhaps workers will be protected in some way or another. But we do know in liquidation, the creditors get paid first and workers are last in line to get anything. So it's going to be interesting to see how workers are protected and granted any kind of relief in this application.
And Heidi, just speaking on protection of the workers, I mean, any word from unions on how they perhaps even plan to enforce that protection?
I mean, it's such a good question, because yesterday we were going around in circles trying to figure out what unions are saying about this application that was set to be heard in court today. And it appears as though nobody could give us a clear indication as to whether or not they knew that this application was going to be heard or not. But we do know that SATAO did receive the application and they acknowledged the application. But we're not exactly sure of how other unions are going to be protecting their workers. We do know that some SA Express workers have joined together. They've gone on Twitter pleading for any kind of assistance or relief. We know that NUMSA has been very vocal, and the Cabin Crew Association, in trying to protect their workers, but it becomes very difficult when there are no funds available to protect these workers and to keep the airline going.
Yeah, Heidi Jokos, thank you. She's tracking that story. SA Express, it's the breaking news story at the moment.